PJ, what's up, bro?
What's the deal? What's going on?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, glad you was able to make it today.
Yeah, no problem. What's
And
going on?
I'm telling man, I've been having some technical difficulties. It done went out like 2 times on me already.
Oh, you could.
Freaking internet. How you been, man?
I cannot complain. I'm just glad it is Friday and we done, at least for the next 2 days.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of the No Anonymity Podcast. I'm your host. You know the name. Um, Very special guest in the building today. Reached out to this brother. He got back with me ASAP. Unlike some people you reach out to get on the show, they act so sedity, like they better than everybody else. They can't come on the platform, whatever. But this young man, he didn't. He got right to it, and he's here, my man PJ Eugene. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Hold up, I got somebody in the comments already. Okay. Hey, Rochelle, how are you? All right, here we go. Hey, but I wanted to get into this topic with you because I ran across your platform and I saw you going in and I was dying laughing. I said I gotta have this brother on the show, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, but I had another educator on here, and I always like to ask them this question first.
Mm-hmm.
What is the purpose of education?
Oh, that's such a vague question, but it requires such a specific answer. Okay, so here's what I think. I think that the purpose is to, of course, transfer information and ways of doing. And I always like tell my students like to work smarter, not harder. So I just think like as you are transferring over information, as you are trying to educate, as you will, there are always going to be new and innovative ways to do new things. Just like, for example, I teach math, but the math, the way I teach it is not the way that I used to learn it. So I think it's like transferring that knowledge and that information, but also teaching someone not to go through the same trials and tribulations it took you to get to that information. So
Right.
making it more easier for them to access and gain and understand that knowledge.
Right. Good. I love that. So you've been an educator for going on what I think 7 years, something like that, right?
7 years. Yep. I'm about to wrap up year 6 this year.
Okay. Wow. And the grade you teach is it 7th and 8th graders?
So I started off doing middle school, and now I do 4th grade math.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. How is that? Is that
Um,
different from teaching the bigger kids?
the bigger kids, I'll say that they're a lot more moody and they have a lot of more emotional. Well, everyone has the emotional issues, but I'm trying to say that they're a lot more mouthy and they're a lot more bigger personalities to deal with, to the point where, plus it was my first year teaching, so I didn't know nothing about anything, so I was just going in there raw, not knowing really what to expect. And it's like these 7th, 8th graders, 6th graders who are going through so many hormonal changes,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a first year teacher, so I'm just thrown completely off guard. So I do question myself and ask, like, how would I have handled it now versus then? But I think with 4th grade, like the beauty of it is that they are growing into becoming that bigger version of themselves, but
Okay.
they're still babies. They still require hugs every day. They
Hmm.
still like to have some type of baby down communication for them to understand.
Gotcha. I'm gonna put a couple of things on the board. I hope you can see them, some titles, and I just want you to go in on these headers as I put them up.
Okay.
First one I want to put up as far as teachers, and before we get into, I want to say I have nothing but the utmost respect for our educators, teachers. All I think they're underpaid. I think they should be making 2 and 3 million, to be honest with you, because you guys shape our future. You shape what's to be. But
Right.
instead, they rather give somebody running up and down the court with a basketball $700 million. I mean, come on, man. But
Yeah. Yes, it's
it,
very it's something to think that we do all this every single day and to get paid what we get paid, but
Right. Why do you think they removed the lack of uh, autonomy from you guys? Because when I was a teacher, when I'm not a teacher, excuse me, when I was in school, what the teacher said was in stone, baby. It was written in stone. Wasn't no, we had to go talk to the principal and all that. What they said, it stood. But
Mm-hmm.
today seems to be a little bit different.
I think it has to be, but then again, it shouldn't be, because I feel like when you're removing autonomy, you're not saying that they're not a professional. When you are not saying that you don't have the autonomy of your classroom on how it should run, that to me communicates that you don't know your students best. And we in the classroom, in the trenches, every single day, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I found out they're really, really keen on creating like a scripted version, even though they don't call it that. They're creating like this type of removal of autonomy from teachers because of the gap there is now, not just due to the pandemic, because this was existing before the pandemic. This was a deal. Like, people always want to blame the pandemic for this huge educational knowledge gap that our kids are having, but it was existing. I started in 2017, and I was having the same issues I was having before the pandemic, right after. So I don't know how that just got thrown out there with the pandemic. I think the pandemic made things a lot more tougher, but it definitely didn't introduce a lot of new concepts that we were dealing with. But now that we have all these kids with all these big knowledge gaps, they're saying, okay, now we need a little bit more controlled tier of support. So now we're going to go in. We know that you know how to teach. We know that you know how to manage your classroom, but now we need you to, on top of teaching, we need you to go do some intervention skills, because they need to know how to read before they need to know how to do anything else. And on top of that, you need to do some small groups. You need to do behavior intervention, just adding on to what we are expected to do every single day.
Issues. We back now. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry about that. Jeez. I think it's because of the solar eclipse. Might be. I'm not sure.
It gotta be.
Yeah, something going on. You see all the crazy TikTok videos they making. Everybody think something big gonna happen, but we shall see. So we was talking about the lack of, they're taking away you guys' ability to be authority figures in the classroom for whatever reason. Do you think that by doing that, it undermines a lot of like, do the students look at you guys like, they really ain't got no power? Are they smart enough to see that?
They are. They're saying they see everything, especially with TikTok being such a prevalent force with them now. They're not only seeing everything, but they're also hearing our commentary behind everything, because we people and we got things to say. So they know that we're powerless, and they know that we can only do so much. And I don't know what that really, I never really asked my kids how they felt about it. I just tell them I do what I can and I do what I can't, and we're going to move on to the next day.
Right. Now, this is a big one right here. I want to put up students' behavior.
Whoa.
We're going to get right into it. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so hold on. Let me tell you so when I uploaded the video of like why I quit teaching, or why teachers are quitting, it like I don't know why a lot of people in education are so afraid to talk about student behaviors, and that being a prevalent reason why teachers are leaving, because that was one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, why I left in the first place. Because on top of me doing all of these things, I was spending so many minutes every single day redirecting, having these moments where I just couldn't teach. And it became frustrating, because I'm just like, I come here to teach. I sit up every single day and plan these well thought out lessons, come out with these rigorous questions, only for me to become this babysitter of an employee when I'm like, we're professionals. We're supposed to be educating, but we're really like mediating.
Right.
And I legit had that conversation with my kids today. I'm like, the amount of minutes that I spend a day saying, sit down, stay in your chair, stop talking, leave them alone, don't write on this person, don't write on my desk. It's ridiculous. And it becomes frustrating because you're repeating the same thing over and over again. And then all at the same time, you have coaches and you have admin and you have leadership saying numbers, scores. But we're telling you that we can't get to the meat and potatoes of the lesson because we're still trying to get them to sit down.
Right.
So student behavior is a huge factor. And then in the comments, when I made that video, people were like, I'm so glad you were talking about student behaviors because people want to act like, oh, it's for the children. No, they need help. And it's not, I hold them accountable for their own behavior because they are individuals and they know what they're doing. However, if there's no parents or no guardian at home reinforcing what we're teaching at home, it's going in one ear, coming out the other. So we're in a constant cycle of reminding you of what you should be doing every single day.
Right. Do you think that, how can I say this without hurting any parents' feelings? Like when my son was in school, we used to have to go to I think it was like parent teacher conference. It would be, now this a class of 25 or 30 kids. It would be 3 freaking parents in that room. 3 of us. And I'm like, where are all the parents? I know people got to work. They probably got 2 jobs. They got things going on. But at some point, you should want to be vested in your child's education. You think the parents just too young? They don't know what's going on? Or what do you think the disconnect is with them teaching? Because everything starts at home, teaching them how to act at home so it could transfer over to the classroom.
I think if parents knew how serious it was, they would really, and see what we see every single day. They can actually see how scary it really is going to be if we don't get these kids up to grade level or performing. Because these are going to be our people who are going to be in our workforce. They're going to be our new employees. And you're telling me that in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, we're still talking about subtraction of single-digit numbers.
Jeez.
So if I don't know if they know like how serious like it really is and how bad we're struggling, because whether or not your child knows how to add, multiply, or subtract or not, we, the teachers, have to still teach grade level content. We're mandated by the state to teach grade level content. We're just told by our coaches, hey, while you're teaching grade level content, do this as well, do that as well, and do this as well. Even though it's like a side job, and we shouldn't be having this many roles in the classroom, but it's just the fact of the matter. But yeah, I just feel like if they really knew, and if you are a parent and you know how it is and you're not doing anything about it, I'm not afraid to say it's shame on you, because you really need to get involved in the consistency of your child's education. You can't just support them 1 or 2 weeks and then send them off. No, kids need a consistent village of support.
Right. With, one school, I think they asked for the National Guard because the school was so out of control with the students. They couldn't contain, they spending 30-40 minutes getting the class organized. So that's, getting things in order, calming them down. They don't really have time to teach. So they asked for the National Guard to come in and be a part of, just to keep as peacekeepers, so to say. But that within itself speaks volume when a principal has to ask for the National Guard to come in.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's gotten there. It shouldn't, because we shouldn't have to put this much thought into behavior, and we should just be worrying about teaching and worrying about. And I always tell, like, me and my teacher friends, we talk about this all the time, how like back when I was in school, elementary school, it was a different ratio. It was like a majority of kids, were ready to listen, ready to learn, stayed on task, was ready to go. And it was like a few that was just like, okay, they're working with their heads, we're still working with them. But now it's the complete opposite. The ratio is now majority of the class are children that are having behavior issues and behavior concerns, where there's a very small number of children who are really here to really do the work.
Wow,
So,
wow. Somebody in the comment section, who's that? Course, she says, and we're not saying all parents are bad. She says, some parents, especially single parents, are working 2 jobs just to put food on the table. It's not always that the parents don't care; it's that they have to provide. And I understand that, and I get that. But at the same time, play the devil's advocate. You have to make time to parent your child, and because we knew how to act right, when I was coming up. But I understand we living in a different generation. Kids' attention span is super short. They watch 1,000 TikTok videos in 2 minutes. They can't focus. Do you think we should be? Do you think the educational system is outdated? Let me put it that way. You think it needs to be revamped because the kids, they can't pay attention? What can we do to get them to be as enthused about education as they are about TikTok videos and Fortnite?
Integrating the two and making them part of each other's life, which is why my initial plan going into this school year was to keep my social media persona and my teacher persona completely different. But my kids are masterclass investigators, and they found me the first week of me being their teacher. I was getting all kind of comments and follows like, I'm like, well, how did y'all find me? So instead of like fighting it, I started to incorporate it. So I would like incorporate it in my lessons to make them like really, really interested, because one thing my coaches taught me is to have a hook for my lessons. So like I would like try to relate what we're learning about that day to a real life situation to get them amped up about what we're about to learn to get today. So I don't think that we need to fight what's happening. I think it's just better that we take what's happening and make it work, because there's going to always be something that's going to work against whatever. So you might as well make it work for you versus trying to fight against it. They're going to be on TikTok. They're going to be doing Instagram Reels. They're going to be doing all the things that children do. So you might as well use that resource in your classroom. At least that's what a smart teacher, in my opinion, would do.
So, of course, she's been teaching. She says, this is what I have seen in my past 20 years of teaching. They care and they want to be there, but some just aren't able to do the best that they can. So I guess, I mean, a lot of them can adapt to the curriculum. And I would ask you that, how does the school expect you to take a child that's reading at a 3rd grade level and teach them 7th grade material? How can you bridge that gap? How is it able to, to meet that gap?
So back when I was in like elementary school, I would always see like these people who weren't teachers, but like will pull you out for like 5 or 10 minutes. And I never knew what they were there for until I actually started working in education. So we use like tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. So that's like reading interventionists. We don't have any math interventionists, even though I feel like we do need some, but reading, especially because if you can't read, you can't do nothing. So if you have tier 2 intervention where you have children being pulled out for like 20, 30 minutes a day, just focusing on a small group instruction of just reading, we're trying to bridge that gap where you can be in general education, which is tier 1, and be able to cooperate and be doing what the other kids are doing without missing too much of your day. But then you have like tier 3, that's like more going towards like a contained classroom, which is a whole different conversation. But to answer your question, it's basically just intervention. Before I even became a teacher, I started off as a paraprofessional, which is just a glorified interventionist. And I was pulling out like 5, no more than 6 kids a day. And we would have this thing called LLI, Level Literacy Intervention. And we would just read these leveled books with them. And 2 things were the focus, which was fluency and comprehension. So the fluency portion of it was, okay, can you read the words? How fast can you read the words? How long does it take you to focus on just reading the book? And then after you read the book, can you tell me about what you just read? And if you are able to do those 2 things with this level book, then we can bump you up to the next level book. If not, we're going to stay right here and keep working on that fluency and that comprehension.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, was this something that you were able to incorporate on your own, or was it something that the board or the state gave you to do?
The state actually gave it to us. They paid like a separate grant fund for paraprofessionals, because what parapros are now is not what I was doing when I first started. Parapros now, from my observations, they're like teachers' aid. They're in the classroom. They're like kind of mimicking what the teachers doing. When I was a parapro, we had our own separate room for specific intervention, and we had like these round tables where it was like almost like a cubicle where each parapro had their own station in that room, and we would take our group and we would we had like several groups a day from different grade levels, different classes, and it was like scheduled intentional intervention. Now parapros are just like teachers aid assistants, which is cool, like because I would love a parapro. I would love a teacher's aide because I don't have one, so I'm doing all the work by myself. However, like that really does work, because I really did see second, third, fourth, and fifth graders grow from that small group instruction.
Wow. Okay. So I did a little bit of that back in my hometown of Rochester, New York, but they had me like as a one-on-one with this kid, right? And I would go to, he only went to a couple of classes. He was mainly in one class, and he would always act out, always act out. So, one day I pulled him aside. I said, why we're trying to get the lesson. What's the problem? He's like, I just want to get a haircut. I need my haircut. So I said, yo, if you be good the rest of the day or whatever, I'll come in, because I used to take my son every Saturday to get his haircut. I said, I will come and get you. Ask your mom or whoever's at home with you, is it okay if I take you to get a haircut? He chilled out. He's like, okay, Mr. Buntley, everything okay. I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do my work. He was cool the whole day. This was a Friday. So I got him Saturday, picked him up, took him, got his haircut with my son. I took him to Champs. They used to do you buy 5 t-shirts, you get the red, the blue, the white for like $20. I bought him a couple pair of t-shirts. Do you know that kid can't, you would think it was a whole different person, his mentality. So it just goes to show, like, a lot of them, like Cora said, a lot of them, they probably want to be there, but they coming from homes where they're not getting no attention. They don't have enough food. They're not dressing right. You know how kids are, they talking about you and stuff like that. How many times have you had to come out of your own pocket for your students?
All the time. And like sometimes I don't even report it to the school, because like it'd be too much just to report every single thing that I'm pulling out of pocket for my kids to be successful at, which is cool. If I'm blessed to have it, I'm blessed to give it. So I'm not even about to trip about it. But like, we're actually, like, aside from what I personally believe in, we are actually trained to build relationships with children in any way possible, because kids can't learn from who they don't like. So if they don't like you, they're not going to sit up and try to learn anything from you. So we're actually in training, professional developments in like relationship building, rapport building. How can we handle a child who's having a breakdown, and how can you respond and meet their needs? Personally, I believe in do that any kind of way, because my kids, like, it's almost inevitable for me to not have some type of relationship with them. So when they come in, even though if I'm not feeling it today, they're gonna like force me to, like, what you doing? Like, what, like you supposed to be talking to me, hugging me, and doing all kind of. And I try, like, when I'm having those days, like when I don't want to be bothered and I don't want to be touched, remember, like, okay, they probably didn't have a hug today. They probably didn't, get greeted well today. And me being the adult, I'm emotionally intelligent enough to put my whatever I'm going through to the side, because I can handle myself, but they can't. So I have to be just a bigger person for that moment and just really be emotionally available for them. Because I know if I don't, they ain't learning nothing from me today.
You spit a bar. You say you can't learn from somebody you don't like.
Hey,
that's deep. That's deep. When I was in the military, I hated my drill sergeant, and I never wanted to listen to him. But as time went on, as the more I was with him, the more I got to like him. I love that man. Cried like a baby when I had to leave him. Shout out to Drill Sergeant Washington. I guess, can you guys still show like a still be stern and still get your point across to your students and to draw them into liking you, or do you have to give everybody snacks and fucking juicy juices to like you?
It's so crazy, because I have literally on purpose tried to be more stricter and more mean, as you would call it, and that just made them love me more. And I realized, like, kids, like, one thing about children, they'll do what they want to do, and they gonna, because they're kids, they're gonna do what kids do. But kids subconsciously, without even knowing it, like structure. They like knowing what's going to happen. They know they know what's going to happen if I do this. What's my consequence or reward if I do this? They subconsciously don't even know that they like that, because if you let them run wild, they don't respect you. But if you give them some type of like organization, they love you, because you're providing consistency, which is a lot of what kids don't have nowadays.
Exactly.
In their way, they're looking at it as, this person cares this much about me, so they're going to make sure not only that I have a schedule and I have expectations, but that I'm following them daily.
Right. What she says, not every school has funding for titled teachers, which is unfortunate, because they are a great extra resource and instructions for the students. I guess, like, they don't have the extra funding for the paraprofessionals.
Yeah, it's just like that. So a lot of schools, especially, I work at a charter school, so it's all about grants and funding. So it can be, we have funding for this but none for that. And one thing about budget cuts and money, leadership's going to prioritize certain things over others, which is understandable. Just some things have to go, can't stay. I understand that. Right. However, I understand that convenience is not part of the budget, but sometimes I feel like convenience will be a little bit more beneficial for the kids, because if we're happy, then it's a lot more smoother in the classroom. Because when I'm frustrated and my kids are getting on my nerve and they're yelling and they're just having a crazy day, I'm not in the right headspace. But if I had somebody else there just to, if I'm not looking, because I'm expected to teach and as well as scan, as they'll call it, the classroom, to make sure you're paying attention, keep you engaged. But if I just had someone to do that portion of my job for me, or just help me do it, just to, hey, Mr. So-and-so is teaching right now, you should be doing this. That would be so much more help and less work, and we can focus on the meat and potatoes while they're handling the distribution of the meat and the potatoes.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Have you seen a drastic change post COVID to now in students' behavior in the them coming back to class? Has it gotten better or has it gotten worse?
It's gotten worse, and that portion I will blame on the pandemic, because I believe that when students went home and got behind this computer screen, they lost all sense of structure, all sense of like what they're expected to do. So when they got back, and it's just like that year did so much damage that it's taking us years to get back on track. And that portion, I do believe that did happen with the pandemic. And how I see it is like, because kids, they're in that developing stage, they need that consistency. And the moment you break that consistency, even for a second, you will see the result. You're talking about a whole year, in some school districts, a year, maybe 2 years of being at home and going back in person. There's no consistency in that. So kids don't have that consistent reminder of the expectation. So now they're coming back full time, behaviors on blast, and we're just like, what happened? It's just because they didn't have any consistency. And now we're trying to almost rebuild them from almost square one from what they learned from kindergarten. And they're coming back from the pandemic, and we're reminding them, hey, you can't bite them. You can't write on somebody. I had to tell a girl today, like, why are you taking a marker and writing on someone's skin? Like, are you, what?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You got to tell them they can't bite.
Yes. It's crazy.
Oh man. Now this one right here, I know you're gonna go crazy on this one right here. Let me get to this one. I want to talk about teachers' pay, man.
Oh my Lord.
The low pay, is that, you think that is a cause of why so many teachers are exiting the profession of teaching our children, on top of everything they already else have to deal with?
Absolutely. When you think about it and put your life in perspective, because I did think about this when I quit. When I quit, I'll never forget that the day I decided, like, I'm done, I was up at 4:30 in the morning. I was having an anxiety attack. I was throwing up, and I was like dreading going into work. And I was like, this is not worth the pay that I'm getting. This is not worth going to work with this heavy, heavy feeling on my chest. And I've been told that people can have like heart attacks on the way to work because they're dreading work so much, and it's that heavy on their physical that they go into a cardiac arrest. So my health is very important. And when I started to go to work and become sick, and I'm looking at my bank account like I'm not getting paid buku money to be out here getting sick like that. My insurance is not covering my deductible like that to be sitting up getting paid, and I'm thankful for a job. I'm not saying that I was not thankful. However, it just did not match what I was taking home every single day. And when you're detached, it's hard to come back. I think the teachers should have the most utmost respect on all aspects, from parents to pay. I wish I could like that. It really is. My nephew was in the 5th grade in 2020. He developed social anxiety. Wow. During the pandemic, being out of the social structure of the in-person classroom. Wow. That's insane. Arizona needs to step up their pay and respect for teachers. I'm ready to move back to Iowa. I heard, I'm interested to know what Iowa's starting pay would be. Need extra funding for school activities and pay raises. That's insane. It's around 50 something. Okay. For start, I mean, okay. I wonder if you have to be certified to start there, or I took a 14K pay cut when moving to AZ. Whoa. Did the cost of living match? And you have a master's? Oh no. That's insane. Yeah, they do need extra funding for school activities and pay raises. Kids need that extracurricular feeling. If they're only coming to school for just the academic side.
And I had went out for a whole 2 minutes.
Oh, you good? I'm talking to the comments.
Well, thank you. Such a professional, keeping the show going as I keep having technical difficulties over here. Somebody said the cost of living is higher here. Where are you talking about here? She said, I have a master's too. Okay. I'm getting caught up on everything. Somebody said, we as teachers need extra funding for school activities
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
active raises. Yeah, I was out for a second. I'm like, I don't know what's going on my end over here. It's crazy. But so we got money for everything else, but we don't have money for teachers, basically.
Basically.
I'm
Exactly
sort of
that.
a conspiracy theorist. Do you think all of this is by design? You think we want to pump out as many kids not being able to read, emotionally undeveloped, not being able to control their emotions? You think that's a plan?
It's so hard to deny it because it's like we're seeing the direct input of that. And it's just like, when did this? I keep hearing people keep saying like, when did this start to happen? I'm like, I really can't even give you a pinpoint. It just got really bad really quick, and I can't even tell you when. But I do think like there's some type of I won't say it could be direct, but I think what's going on is just that it's not being taken as seriously anymore, if it ever was. They're stopping to fund different departments such as art and music, which everybody's not going to be a math nerd or a mathlete.
Right.
I have girls who I literally go to the store for and get them like sketchbooks, because in their spare time when they're done with their work, they start to
Mm-hmm.
sketch, and they cold with it.
Mm,
I'm like, where's the art department for them? Like, where's
right.
like the sketching club or whatever that can do after school? We
Mm-hmm.
need those extracurricular activities.
Wow. So there's no. I've been out of school so long. I'm an old man, and somebody want to talk about school safety. So there's no more art in school. No more English. What is ELA? Isn't that
Yeah, that's
part
English
of it?
language arts.
Okay.
They do have ELA. They have their cores. Like our school focuses on like reading and math, more so reading than anything, because if you can't read, I mean, you're doomed.
Right.
But they do, the only thing that I've seen in charter schools is mostly like what's called specials. And they're like the most I've ever seen is at the school I am now, which shout out to my school, because my school has 4 special departments, which I never seen at a charter school. They have technology, music, art, and physical education. I've only
Wow.
seen physical education at some schools, like only gym. I'm like, they need more than just to go outside for recess or run around the school. So
Right.
I'm proud of my school for upholding that standard. But yeah, a lot of schools, they don't invest in like those type of extracurricular activities anymore.
Wow. Now, somebody in the comment section want to talk about school safety. What I'm not sure what's going on with that. Are they talking about teachers and students fighting, or student on students fighting? What? How can we?
She's probably referring to like the number of like mass shootings, I'm assuming that she's
Oh,
talking
okay.
about.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And it's been a huge conversation of like, do like the teacher feel safe? Because at the end of the day, like, we want to protect our kids, but we want to protect our students too. I'm sorry, our teachers too, because they're the ones. Like, I guarantee you, most teachers, if something was to go down and someone came after their children, they're going to be front and center, and probably if it goes to happen, they're going to be unalived first.
Right.
So you think about that, because that goes back to, am I getting paid enough for this? Because you're literally putting your life on the line for maybe 50K, maybe 55K, because anybody can walk in, which I do want to acknowledge. Like, some schools like mine, before you even walk in the door, you got to check with security. And then
Mm,
after you get there, we got to buzz you in. Then when you get buzzed in, we got to, I mean, it's a whole system, because we got to be that cautious now, because anybody is just walking in spraying at any
spraying.
given moment.
Right. Right. Oh wow. Okay. Somebody said they do. Are you a teacher in the Arizona area?
I
So
am
I'm
not.
sorry.
I am in the Metro Detroit area.
Okay. Oh, you in Detroit?
I am in the D
Whoa.
town.
Holy. Let's talk about it for a minute.
Yes.
You guys are. What's the literacy rate in the great state of Michigan?
Oh, please don't ask me that question. It's not good. It's not good. I ain't gonna be funny with it. It's not good. I don't have the exact number, but I do. I thoroughly remember when we were attending what's called the Summer Summit. We have that every year before we go into starting the new year. We were talking, like having a very transparent conversation, like district wide, and they were saying like the literacy rate cannot, at least for this district that we're working in, cannot be as low as it has been. So for to a degree, I understand why my coaches and my leadership team is on our heads so tough, because I mean, we can be banking out at 0% literacy. We can be banking out at like these low numbers, because I always tell my kids, like, the literacy rate is literally a prediction of how many jail beds we're going to need, how many prisons are we going to need to build, because if you can't read, you can't do a lot, and when you can't do anything, you start getting into different activities and so forth and so forth. So people are looking at these numbers like, okay, we need X amount of jail beds, we need, because illiteracy is real. So that's where we at.
Someone said they heard they have new technology to detect guns. Some school districts just aren't spending the money to keep these kids safe. Do you find that the admins back you? Does the principal back you? Because I hear a lot of teachers say they don't have any back. They don't have the principal always siding either with the student or the parent, and they're in the wrong. Is that the same case for you, or do you see it different?
When I first started, that was exactly what I was going through. I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel like, admin had my back. And when you are as colorful as I am, as I'll say, like, like you be trying to get like support, because people would start coming for you. And because like when I first started, I was like 21 years old. So every day I was in the office addressing a parent concerned about this teacher's too colorful, this teacher is negatively influencing. So I was looking for that support, which they provided to a degree. However, when it came to like behaviors and when it came to biases and stuff like that, I feel like they only extended enough that's going to push me down the road, but didn't like see me through. And I feel like when you are a leader, you should be, I mean, as many times as I need you. I'm sorry, this is how I feel. I'm the one in this classroom 24/7 with these kids, banking it out, thugging it out. So when I need your support, I need your support. I shouldn't have to beg and pry for supplies. I shouldn't have to beg and pry you to come relieve me to go to the bathroom, because I have not gone to go in like 3, 4, 5 hours. Wow. Like, what are we doing? So yeah.
I saw one of your videos where you said you were doing a grading, and I guess one of the students' parents got upset, came up there, had his hand all in your face, and that's when you told him, hey, you gotta, your child has to take responsibility for their education at some point.
Yep. So when that happened, the thing about me, I'm growing and I'm still growing, because my thing is I have no issue going back. And that's something I'm working through, because I used to be an issue when I was in high school. I have a very smart mouth. So when I see that you're trying to like, go there with me, I almost want to meet you there, because I can't stand ignorance. But in that specific situation, the ignorance was so thick. And I just couldn't I couldn't, because it was almost like degrading of myself to go back and forth with. I'm like, first off, what you will not do is disrespect me. I sit up with your child 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and doing the best I know how to. You will not put your finger in my face. You will not tell me what I'm going to do. And if you have a question, you can ask me, but you will not yell at me. So I'm very stern with that. And I'm very stern. So when that happened, I was almost in shock, but I just knew that I had to stand 2 feet down on what I was saying, or he was going to feel like what he was doing was getting to me, even though it was. And inside I was shaking, because it was just like, I'm about to go off. I'm about to lose my job. But the professional in me was like, he's not worth your job being lost. So pay it, tell him what he's not going to do, set your boundaries. And then I closed my door and told him to go home.
Wow. That's probably the only time he had any engagement. And I'm not saying all parents, but that's probably the only time that's probably the first time you saw him at that school the whole year, huh?
Absolutely. It always be them. Always be them.
Never mind the missing assignments. No, never mind you calling. Hey, you need to get Benjamin. I meant Benjamin in place. You know what I mean?
Yep. And that was exactly the reason why he was upset, was because of the missing assignments. He was like, why am I just now finding out? And most schools, at least at all the schools I've worked at, they have a computer program system that parents can put on their phones to check the grades at any given time. And his concern with me was, if you saw my child was missing X amount of assignments, why didn't you call me? And I told him, I said, if I called every single parent of every child that has every missing assignment, I'll be on the phone all day. So let's take some accountability and actually check your child's missing assignments, and whatever concern you have, then call me and I will address that concern. But it's not my job to be the concerning parent as well. I'm just taking the data. I'm teaching as much as I can. I'm putting it in the grade book. And when you have an issue with what you see, that's when you call me. Not I'm calling you because, no, I have a lot of kids missing a lot of assignments. We're trying to help them not do that. So
yeah. Now my son, they gave us this like portal. They gave us login passwords. Like I knew when he had an assignment missing, when an assignment was due, when he didn't turn in an assignment, when he didn't read the work that was, because I logged in onto that thing, and I would tell him like, hey, you need to write that paper. He looking at me like, damn, Dad, how you know? Yeah, because I checked your portal, my guy.
Yeah.
A lot of parents, they don't do they still do that? Do they still give parents access to see what their child is doing, and are they engaging with that access?
Every parent has that ability to do so, but it'd be very, very few. And when I do have a parent that's like that, I cherish them, because I'm like, you're doing the work. You are doing what needs to be done. But it's rare, unfortunately, because I don't have a lot of parents who are like really, really on it. And this goes back to what Corey said. Like, I understand that parents nowadays are working 2-3 jobs because inflation is crazy. I will never not consider that when factoring in my opinion about that. I know that parents have it hard right now, and they're doing the best they know how to, just as we are. However, we are all, unfortunately, everybody, the entire village has to work double time right now.
Right.
I'm working double time. I'm talking about, I'm teaching tier 1 education, tier 2 education, social and emotional learning, counseling, therapy, giving hugs, dancing, singing every single day. And do you think that I'm tired the moment 8 o'clock comes? I'm tired. The moment my first class is done, I'm drained, and I have to do it all over again for my other 20-something kids. But that's just the price that we have to pay if we don't want to see our children become what they are, but in adult form, because that scares me.
Exactly, especially when you see 5-year-olds singing Sexy Red, and not knocking her. She make music for grown folk. A child shouldn't have such pervasive availability to such music. Listen, when I was a kid, my mom used to play, Rick James and Mary Jane. I didn't know what Mary Jane was till I was damn near 25 years old. I said, oh, you talking about marijuana. But as a kid, they kept those things away from me. They kept certain things away from me. But I don't think the new style of parenting does that. So they in the car picking up their kids, listen to all kind of crazy music, not knowing the child's like a sponge. He or she soaking everything up.
Yeah, and the thing is, so I have a theory about that. I think parents now, because when I say parents now, I'm talking about my age bracket, like the millennials. I feel like we suffer from this trauma because most of us, especially if we were in the Black community, we grew up with a religious upbringing. We were all strict. We couldn't do nothing. So now we're going into parenthood. Like, I will never put that much pressure and that much discipline on my child, which I understand. I get the intention behind it. However, take the idealism of what happened to you and just adapt it to where it's not abusive like it was for us, because they still need that strict type of parenting, especially now more than ever, especially when I have little girls in 4th grade twerking in my classroom on top of the chair. So I'm not saying that it was right to keep us locked up and caged up, and we're all suffering from that trauma, and we want to be liberated, and we want to be, that's cool, but there should be some type of thin line, or not thin line, but borderline between liberation and complete chaos.
Right. Right. Let me ask you a question. In your classroom, who is the most who gives the most problems? Is it the female students or the male students?
It's my boys. It's always my boys. See, my girls already know what they're gonna do. It's drama. Because it's always he said, she said. She made me feel some kind of way, and all it is with my girls, it's just friendships, and they're sad because this friend don't. It's always about friends, but the boys, they're it's, and I'm being so serious, it's a lot more extreme with my boys because I've had to have conversations with my boys about, you can't do that or say that to a young girl because that's considered sexual harassment. That's considered assault. That's considered, they don't know that. So they're doing gestures and they're doing like, you know, saying little things to girls, and we got to have a whole, like almost a parent conversation with and then we got horse plans, and we got they ready to fight, ready to buck it out because boys want to prove that they're so tough and so hard. When girls, it's just pretty much, she made me feel some kind of way, and we can talk about it, and they'll cry, and then we'll be all right.
Right. Wow. Okay. What the course says? She says, my glasses. I have finger rules when helping students pick out books they can read. She says, independently. You open the book, and if it has 5 or more words that on the page that you cannot read, this book is not for you. So I guess she's saying you picking up Harry Potter when you should be getting at Dr. Seuss, my friend.
Exactly. Yep.
Oh man.
She's right.
Yeah. Okay. School is so much different now from did you have these problems when you were in school, in high school? Did you see this level of fast girls? Because girls wasn't fast they were fast, but they wasn't like twerking in the class and talking back to the teacher and popping and snapping and doing all that when I was in school.
I don't think I think it happened, but it just didn't happen on the degree and level and frequent as it is happening now, because culture, especially in music, has changed to where it's just like it's more so celebrated now versus looked upon. Like when you did something like that back then, it was like, okay, she's being, you know, a certain word that I really don't want to say. But now it's just like you're proud to be that, which I'm not judging. If you want to be, you can be whatever you want to be. However, with the liberation, with almost and normalization of everything, almost people are more free to do just about anything. So I do think it still happened. But back then when I was in school, I was so sheltered. So I really didn't really see much. I was so worried about why can't I do this and why. Growing up, I understand now why I couldn't do certain things because they was crazy. But I really was sheltered. I really didn't have these issues. I ain't gonna hold you.
Right. Yeah. We were sheltered in a way. Like I said, I didn't know what Mary Jane was till I was damn near almost 30. Yeah. Sheltered to such an degree. But you know, parents today, they're a little different. We don't want to talk bad about anybody or anything like that. No. But explain to the layman's what exactly is a Title I school, and why do they seem to make the spotlight more than any other? Not make the spotlight, but have such a disdain on them compared to charter schools and private schools.
Because so basically because I'm not, when I tell you I'm not the best to explain like Title I, but I do because it was explained to me the way I'm about to say it to you. Title I funding schools is basically, in my brain, when I hear that, I think of job roles being a lot more restricted. Like you can't do certain things, even though some schools still do it. So for example, like if you're a parapro in a Title I funded school, you are by law not able to go into a classroom and sub because you're already being extended the grace to work here with an X amount of college credits, which is not going to work at a public school. You can't walk into a public school and say, oh, I have X amount of college credits, you know, I deserve to work. Because they're going to say, do you have a degree? Do you have a certification? Because you have to be certified working at a public school. But when you come into a charter or Title I funded school, they're a lot more lenient. They're a lot more willing to work with you and even almost to refund or fund you through getting your certification or, you know, graduating school. So that's why it's a little bit more limited. And then also everything is counted. Everything means a number. So I need to know how many breakfasts were ate by the students this week. I need to know how many kids, because we need to know how much money is being spit out, how much money does not need to be spit out. It's all about money and grants. And when you have grants, it's just free money. So the more free money, the more you can do with that money.
Right.
So that's what I kind of like think of Title One.
Okay. I think I have somebody want to call in and ask you a question. The number's on the screen. You want to give them a call and give him a question. She's like, what's the name? What's his name? His name is PJ.
Hi, I'm PJ.
Numbers on the screen, 602-753-9317. They want to call in. I think it's another educator that wants to call in.
Oh, I love teacher talk.
Teacher talk. Let's see. Give them a second. Oh, there we go.
Call from Corey.
Let's see.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Caller, you're on the air. How are you? Hi, PJ. Can you hear her good?
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, this is Corey. Hey, PJ.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can hear you. I don't know what's happening with him. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead with your question.
Hey guys. Okay, so PJ, I wanted to explain to you. Let me set it. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, you probably got to mute your YouTube background.
Yeah, I did. Okay. So in Iowa, Title I is more, so it's for your low income schools that have a large number of free and reduced lunch. So the way it works there, our paraeducators were different than our title teachers. So title teachers were actually funded by the government, and they would come in and pull kids to give them, extra instruction. So our paraeducators could never teach. So they were there to help assist with behaviors and all of that kind of stuff, but never were they ever allowed to teach or be in a classroom without the teacher present.
Right.
So that's just kind of how it works in Iowa. The title, like you said, title has a lot of rules and regulations. Everything needs to be counted. They're very particular too about who they service because of the funding, and then that position is funded on a yearly basis. So usually a title teacher will have a position for several years unless the the neighborhood happens to change and a different group of kids or whatever come into that neighborhood school. So that's just kind of how title works in Iowa. I don't know how it works in Arizona because I do not work in a title school here in Arizona.
Gotcha.
So that's just to clarify a little bit about what I'm familiar with.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Thank you for educating us on the Title I school.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
So, I was going to ask PJ something else, but I can't remember. But if I have another question, I will call back in.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate you. Hit that Cash App too, Shawty.
I got you.
All right. Good call. Yeah.
Call.
I think she said she's been teaching for 20 years, so she's tenured. I had a teaching buzz quite recently. I was like, you know what? I'm being naive. damn, maybe I could go in there and make a difference, grab some of the little thugs and be like, yeah, hey, y'all come in here, let me, But then I thought about, I said, let me teach the kindergarten, the small group, because you know what? We're going to have Benadryl and NyQuil time. You hear me? Whole class sleeping.
Right.
Hey, I usually don't hold people no more than an hour, but let me ask you this. What advice would you give a young, fresh teacher who has all of these grand ideas about coming in, wanting to, what they're going to do and change the world? What advice would you give them?
Oh, so you're talking to the first year version of me. Okay, so I would say it's first off beautiful that you want to change the world. It's beautiful that you have all these ideas, and it's so beautiful that you have the driving motivation to do it. However, once drive reaches reality, find a balance and know how to carry out your expectations and your visions without overextending yourself to where you're about to break. Know what you can do, save who you can, and don't beat yourself up about what you cannot do and what you are not able to do for a student. At least you tried, and that's the best that you can do for this climate of culture now.
That was you spitting bars, man. I forgot, side note, that you were a artist.
Yes.
With the music. I saw your Tiny Desk. I think it was like a Tiny Desk performance. And y'all rocked out, man. Y'all was jamming on there. I said, okay, I see what you're doing. So before I let you go, let's just give me a rundown on everything you got going on, your social media handles, where they can find you at. Anybody got any questions? They want to reach out to you. They want to check your music. They want to stream your music. Give them the rundown.
Sure. So I like to be consistent. So if you just look up PJ Eugene, it's going to come up on any social media platform, PEJAY Eugene. I'll be on TikTok a lot. So if you want to, talk to me on there, that's where I be at a lot. I like to do my TED Talks, as you will call it, on TikTok. However, I'm everywhere. So you can reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And you can also, like you said, find all of the music on all streaming platforms. Same name, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, and everything else.
Oh man, I thank you so much. And also, I have his YouTube channel linked in the description. I encourage everybody that want to get into teaching, education, go over there and check out some of his videos, his content. He's spitting game. He's giving game like he's been teaching for 40 years. Again, PJ, man, I appreciate you so much, brother, for reaching out, for getting right back with me and coming on the show, man. Anytime. I would love to come on your show, top it up with you. We do something, get it popping or something. But I appreciate you, man. Have a great weekend. And thank you, brother. I really appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks for the invite. You have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too. Drop him down. That was my guy, PJ Eugene, been in the teaching game for a long time. We was talking about, the teacher exodus, why so many teachers are quitting. What's the quitting trend? That was the name of this episode, this show. We went into a lot of different things. Like I told you, this platform is to educate and enlighten people and have you coming back for more. I want to shout out all my subscribers, everybody that was in the chat. The chat, and one more thing, the chat doesn't transport over, your comments don't translate over to the YouTube for whatever reason. That's something with StreamYard. I have nothing to do with that. So a lot of the comments that you see in the live chat don't make it to the actual YouTube channel. So I appreciate everybody. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video. If you want to see more great content like this, I try to be on every Friday around this time or a little earlier, it just depends. Hit the Cash App, support your boy, support the host. I'm trying to give you enlightened material, enlightened thought process and things. Go check out the episode I did last week on the missing indigenous women, and we're gonna keep that going too, because that is very near and dear to me. Missing women of all races, no matter where you're from. Okay, I love y'all. Until next time, peace. And I'm out, man. This is No Anonymity, the podcast.